ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Jaguar Land Rover President and CEO North America, Joe Eberhart.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this fabulous new Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. What a befitting venue for the world debut, public world debut of the new Range Rover, and more importantly, the launch of our very first Range Rover Leadership Summit. So thank you all for joining us here today. As you will see later this evening, the all-new Range Rover is truly a world leader combining technology and design. But it's much more than that. It is really an example of what modern luxury can look like and is looking like in today's world. To celebrate the debut and Range Rover's over 50 years of undisputed leadership in the luxury SUV segment and being the most desired SUV in the world, we thought, what better idea than putting together a leadership summit. So this is the very first Land Rover and Range Rover Leadership Summit. Much like the car, Range Rover owners all over the world are truly leaders in their respective fields, whether it's leading the families, their organizations, their team members. It does take a lot of ingenuity, perseverance. It takes a competitive spirit, creativity, and at times you need to break the rules. But all leaders have one thing in common: they lead by example every day. Today, we want to celebrate this spirit with an amazing group of individuals from all walks of life, whether it be business, sports, the culture, the arts. They have one thing in common: every day they live their principles. And you will hear that in the discussions today. You will hear how they overcame adversity, how they rose to the challenge, how they inspire their teams, themselves, every day to keep going. And that's what we in the automotive world, I think, have demonstrated with the Range Rover. So get ready to be inspired. I want you to sit back, relax. It's not very often that we get actually 2 or 3 hours out of our busy days to just listen and interact with others, right? We have a hashtag, it's on here somewhere, at Range Rover Leadership Summit. So if you feel like you want to share some of your observations, please do so. And I also would like you to consider how you can continue to contribute every day through the betterment of society through your leadership. So that's really it for me. Maybe just 2 personal leadership stories, if I may. The first one is, you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses, right? Well, my strength is not hosting and moderating a conference like this. I know that for sure. So that's when the second lesson of leadership comes in. You got to find the best talent to do it for you. So it's my real pleasure to introduce your host for today, Mr. Christian Murphy. And thank you for joining us. Christian.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. That's a wonderful, warm, generous welcome for someone, I should say, who I'm sure you've never, ever heard of. Now, I'm sure you're sitting there wondering who I am and why, in fact, I would be leading Land Rover's first ever Global Leadership Summit, and it's a real privilege and honour. Well, it's certainly one question that I ask myself and the Land Rover team, but why, in fact, I am up here. And before you grab out your phones and start to search, that's Christian Murphy, I think what you'll find is I don't tweet. Not a lot of tweets out there. I'm not big on the gram. I do like LinkedIn. I find there's some wonderful things there. I haven't written a book on leadership, and I haven't done a TED Talk lately, or ever, in fact. But I do consider myself a lifelong student of leadership. I've played sport all of my life. And as a youngster, I often assumed or earned, in fact, a leadership role. But that compares nothing to what you'll hear from our first panel today of elite Olympic athletes. over the last 30 years or more, I've been sort of in the trenches in an executive and a creative capacity, launching brands, building businesses, telling stories, leading teams directly and indirectly in every corner of the globe. And sadly, that pales in significance to the two game-changing entrepreneurs that we're going to hear from in our second panel. And folks, that's just for starters. As Joe said, and I don't know that Joe's necessarily not a wonderful presenter and host. He's good. He's a very smart and a wonderful person. But we have, and I wish he was on the lineup today, we have a wonderful lineup of extraordinary speakers, panelists, and we're going to have some wonderful discussions around this idea of modern leadership from a group of people, well, who are really just like you. Determined, focused, successful, talented, and hugely accomplished. And we couldn't be more excited about that. These people that you'll hear from today, well, they're leaders in their own field, leaders outside of their own field, in fact. People like you who are making a difference in your communities and changing, helping in a positive way the lives of others. And that's really what leadership, in my mind, is all about. So with everything that has happened over the last 20 months or more, there's really never been, in my mind, a more important time to talk about this idea of modern leadership. Because I think we're actually in a bit of a leadership vacuum. I think we're grappling to come to grips with this idea of modern leadership, an approach that considers diverse points of view, brings together different generations, and inspires them, that changes the social conversation, driving positive change. That's leadership. Leadership is not about getting 100,000 likes or shares from a tweet, a headline, a story. That's marketing. That's a press strategy. That's designed to project an image, in my mind, of being a leader. Or often more than that, just to sell a few things, like a bit of Tesla stock, maybe, based on a Twitter poll. That's not leadership, in my mind. So what is modern leadership? Well, we're going to explore it today. We're going to think about how it's defined, how it's evolving, and what does it look like in a modern setting. I think of leadership in terms of being an enabler. That's my approach, and everyone is absolutely different. Every day I think about how I, through my actions, my experiences, my personal story, I can enable those around me, family, friends, teams, partners like Land Rover, all of them to achieve their full potential. That's just my take on leadership. I believe we have a responsibility to lead and enable the next generation of leaders, recognizing that what they bring along, we have to continually listen to them, refine and evolve our approach to continue to be effective leaders. Now that's just me from one bloke who doesn't do a lot of tweets, hasn't written a book, and probably won't be doing a TED Talk anytime soon. But I think it's all good to have the conversation around leadership. And fortunately, there's no one way to do it. You all know, you're all leaders. There's no one approach to become or be a successful leader, because we all bring our own personal stories and experiences. It's all different. Think about how today relates to your own story, your approach, and hopefully will inspire you to continue to being the leaders that we know you are. And we're so grateful that you're taking the time to be here today. So, are you ready to begin the conversation around modern leadership? Are you ready? That's a bit better. We're going to try and make it a little bit fun today. Not too much clapping, don't worry.